Did you know that Hawaii, located in the heart of the Pacific, relies on imports for around 90% of its food and essential goods? As one of the most isolated places on Earth, the islands face unique challenges with transportation costs, cost of living, and food security. But why does a region with fertile soil and abundant sunlight still struggle with self-sufficiency? In this video, we'll dive into the economic, historical, and logistical factors behind Hawaii's dependence on imports and discuss potential solutions to reduce this vulnerability. How could increasing energy and food self-sufficiency transform life for Hawaiians? If you're curious about how global trade systems shape remote regions or want to explore paths toward a more sustainable future, stay tuned. To understand Hawaii's reliance on imports, we need to trace its economic roots. Before becoming a U.S. territory in 1898, Hawaii was a thriving kingdom with a robust agricultural base, producing crops like sugar and pineapple for global markets. The island served as a vital trading post due to their strategic location in the Pacific, connecting North America and Asia. However, this prosperity was closely tied to external interests, and with annexation, Hawaii's economy became even more intertwined with the United States. Over the 20th century, economic focus shifted towards tourism, eclipsing traditional agriculture. As large-scale farming declined, local food production faltered, replaced by imports that could meet the needs of a growing population and millions of visitors each year. This dependency became further entrenched due to logistical challenges posed by Hawaii's isolation, making it easier and often cheaper to import goods than to produce them locally. Additionally, Hawaii's historical ties to external markets shaped its infrastructure, with ports and shipping routes optimized for receiving imports rather than fostering local production. As a result, the islands grew increasingly dependent on supply chains outside their control, creating vulnerabilities in times of crisis. By examining these historical shifts, we begin to see how complex forces laid the groundwork for Hawaii's present-day reliance on imports, a dependency that demands innovative solutions for resilience and self-sufficiency. Hawaii's breathtaking beauty comes with a unique challenge: extreme isolation. Located over 2,400 miles from the U.S. mainland, the islands are among the most remote inhabited places on Earth. This geographic isolation significantly shapes Hawaii's economy and logistics, making it heavily dependent on imports to sustain everyday life. Transporting goods across such vast distances involves complex shipping logistics and high costs. Cargo ships and planes are the lifeline that keeps Hawaii supplied with food, fuel, and consumer products. However, this reliance on external transport leaves the islands vulnerable to disruptions, whether caused by natural disasters, global trade tensions, or economic downturns. Even minor interruptions in shipping routes can quickly lead to shortages and skyrocketing prices for essential items. Furthermore, the high costs of shipping goods to Hawaii add to the already elevated cost of living, making basic necessities more expensive than on the mainland. The island's supply chain is a tightly controlled and delicate web with limited room for error or fluctuation. This geographic reality underscores the need for local resilience. While imports are often a more immediate and practical solution, they deepen Hawaii's dependence on a fragile network. Addressing this dependency requires innovative approaches to reduce logistical challenges and foster sustainable practices that prioritize self-sufficiency and local production. Hawaii's dependence on imports isn't solely a matter of geographic isolation. It's also driven by economic and trade policies. Among the most notable is the Jones Act, a U.S. federal law that mandates goods transported between American ports be carried on U.S.-flagged ships, crewed and built by Americans. This legislation, intended to protect the domestic shipping industry, has a disproportionate impact on Hawaii. The result? Significantly higher shipping costs, which drive up prices for consumers and hinder competitive access to international markets. Compounding this, Hawaii's economy has become heavily focused on tourism, often at the expense of diversified local industries. Tourism generates significant revenue but comes with trade-offs, including land use for hotels and resorts instead of agricultural development. The focus on serving tourists also shifts resources and investments away from sectors that could help reduce reliance on imports, like local food production or renewable energy. The structure of Hawaii's retail market exacerbates the problem. Large retailers dominate, relying on cost-effective supply chains that favor bulk imports over sourcing local products. This creates a vicious cycle where local producers struggle to compete with cheaper imported goods, stifling efforts to cultivate robust local industries. Moreover, economic incentives and subsidies often favor large-scale importers and developers, making it difficult for small farmers and local producers to thrive. Without strategic support or reforms, Hawaii's economy remains locked in a cycle where imports are more accessible and affordable than locally produced alternatives. Tackling these economic and trade barriers is key to reducing dependence on external sources. Policy changes, incentives for local producers, and support for diversified industries could begin to shift the balance and foster a more resilient and self-sufficient economy in Hawaii. While Hawaii's unique geography offers opportunities for agricultural and energy production, significant obstacles hinder local industries. One key challenge is limited availability of arable land. Much of Hawaii's land is either designated for conservation, used for tourism infrastructure, or owned by large estates, leaving limited space for small and medium-scale farming. As urbanization expands, valuable agricultural land is further squeezed. Hawaii's tropical climate, while advantageous for certain crops, also presents hurdles. Pests, soil quality issues, and weather fluctuations require resilient crop varieties and specialized farming methods, which can be costly for local farmers. Competing with cheap, mass-produced imports from mainland or overseas suppliers only adds to the difficulty, as local producers often cannot match the lower prices or high volumes of these imports. Another challenge lies in labor costs. Hawaii's cost of living is one of the highest in the United States, making wages for agricultural and production labor more expensive than many other places. This labor cost increases the price of locally produced goods, placing them at a disadvantage in the market. Finally, Hawaii faces infrastructure constraints, such as limited storage, processing facilities, and distribution networks for local products. To build a resilient local economy, these issues must be addressed through targeted investments and policy support that empower local production to thrive against these odds. The heavy reliance on imports has profound consequences for everyday life in Hawaii, particularly in terms of cost of living, food security, and economic inequality. With many essential goods imported at high costs, residents face prices that are much higher than on the U.S. mainland. Whether it's food, fuel, or household items, Hawaii's prices are inflated due to the added shipping costs, making it one of the most expensive places to live in the United States. This economic pressure impacts residents' access to basic goods and services. For instance, while the state has a relatively high standard of living, low-income families often struggle to afford nutritious food. Hawaii's food security is heavily reliant on external sources, which means that any disruption in global supply chains, such as during natural disasters or global crises, can lead to shortages of crucial items. A hurricane or a shipping delay can create immediate gaps in the availability of everyday necessities. The high costs of imports also exacerbate economic inequality. Wealthier residents and tourists can absorb the high prices, but many locales, especially those in lower income brackets, feel the strain more acutely. The island's economic structure places less emphasis on local industries that could provide affordable goods, leaving many people in precarious situations during global disruptions. With the state's dependency on imports, Hawaii's economy and residents are at constant risk from external factors. This vulnerability underscores the need for more self-sufficiency, whether through local agriculture, alternative energy sources, or strengthened local industries, to protect residents from the volatility of global markets. Despite the challenges, Hawaii has significant potential to reduce its reliance on imports and increase self-sufficiency in both food and energy. The island's natural resources offer a unique opportunity for local production that could help build resilience in the face of global disruptions. For instance, Hawaii's agricultural sector still holds promise, even though it faces obstacles. With its warm climate and ample sunlight, the state is capable of producing a wide variety of crops, such as tropical fruits, vegetables, and even certain grains. In recent years, local farmers have increasingly turned to sustainable practices, like organic farming and permaculture, which can be more resilient to climate change and pests. Moreover, urban farming and community gardens have gained traction, allowing for more localized food production. These initiatives not only increase local food security, but also provide fresh, healthy options that are often less expensive than imported alternatives. Additionally, Hawaii has begun exploring food sovereignty initiatives, aiming to increase the percentage of locally grown food and reduce the environmental footprint of importing goods. On the energy front, Hawaii has an even greater opportunity for self-sufficiency. The state is one of the nation's leaders in renewable energy development, particularly solar and wind power. Hawaii's abundant sunshine makes solar energy an ideal solution, with solar panels already providing a significant portion of the state's power. The islands are also exploring the use of geothermal energy, tapping into the heat beneath the Earth's surface and ocean energy, utilizing the power of waves and tides. Increasing energy independence would not only lower costs, but also reduce Hawaii's vulnerability to fuel price fluctuations. By investing in renewable energy infrastructure and expanding local food production, Hawaii could transform into a model for sustainable living in isolated regions. The question remains, how quickly can these efforts be scaled to make a meaningful impact on Hawaii's self-sufficiency? Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you found this video helpful and inspiring. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments below.